API's latest webinar, which is on our Bali developments. Today I'm joined by Dan Earle, who is Managing Director of Asia for API Global, and with us is Sam Birch, who has recently joined to head up the Balinese divestments, actually based in Bali, so local expertise on the ground. We've got a couple of guys still about to join or waiting to join. They're in the waiting room at the moment, so just give it a minute or two and we will get cracking. Thank you very much. So what we're going to touch on, first of all, or what we're going to go through today is a very quick overview, and I mean very quick, of who API are. I'm conscious that a lot of you have been on our webinars before and I spoke to the team. So a very quick overview of who API are, a very quick introduction to the developer and their background and sort of their global expertise. What we really want to get into today is why Bali? Why is it now one of the most popular markets? Not only from an investment, but also from a tourism perspective and holidays, really get into the development, understand the numbers, understand how you as an investor can benefit from what are, I consider, market-leading returns on investment and yields. And then we're going to showcase one of our completed options as well, or a development completing in the next couple of months over this quarter. So as many of you know, API was founded in 2013. Historically, have been a UK-focused business. 95% of what we do was always in the UK market, predominantly London, Manchester and Birmingham. And over the last couple of years, as a business, we've also diversified and looked at alternative markets. The UAE being one, where I'm here. I've been here for the last 13 years. And then over the last sort of 9 months, we looked at Thailand quite closely, and we've launched developments there. And Bali, which is close to our heart, Michael being one of the developers, as well as shareholder and owner of API. Over the last 13 years as a business, we've delivered now over £2 billion in real estate, delivered over 5,000 individual units across 100 different developments. Very quickly, the group of companies that we have we have API Global, which sits at the top, which is a distribution platform and a conduit for international developers to access our network of agencies and partners. We've then got subsidiaries within. So we've got an investing club and a sports desk, which works alongside athletes. We've got a capital raising arm and debt financing. We've got a lettings management business, a conventional mortgage business, and a bridging finance vehicle as well, which operates across the UK and Hong Kong. As a business, what we essentially are a one-stop shop for both distribution partners and clients. First and foremost, we're a market research business. It's our job to identify what we consider market-leading opportunities and growth corridors where investors are going to get true value for money. So it's not saying Bali's great, let's invest in Bali. It's where within Bali do we consider the next up-and-coming area or growth corridor where you as an investor are going to get true value for money. Okay. Once we've identified the area, we then go about sourcing development, and there's a number of different deal structures we apply, whether that we develop it ourselves or we come in as an agency or a joint venture partner. Point 3 is then the investment advice. That's where myself and Dan and Sam, as well as the other guys across API, would sit down with you, your clients, really walk through what the investment looks like, understand your needs, your wants and requirements, and ultimately what the return on investment will give you over a 5-10 year picture. We then look at point 4 to 8, what we consider post-agreement. So post paying the reservation fee and sign a reservation form. You'll then go through the process that our sales progression team will then take care of. That's navigating legal complexities across different markets, receiving construction updates if you're buying off plan. If you're in a market where mortgages are eligible, we then have an in-house mortgage team to support that. We've got the right tax and accountancy team in place to give you the right advice depending on the market you're looking to invest in or where you reside. We then let the property out for you and manage that. And again, that's on a long-term AST, but also on a short-term play depending on the market you're in. And then point 10 is the optimization piece. So very similar to a wealth manager or an investment banker, you're getting constant advice on your portfolio every 3 months, whether you should hold the asset, sell the asset, refinance or release equity at a later date to then recycle that capital into another property. The 2 gentlemen on the screen, obviously the gentleman on my left, Michael, you'll have seen him on the previous slide. He's co-founder along with the other gentleman, Matthew J. We have over 50 years of experience in both commercial and residential property, not just in the UK, but also across Bali and other markets as well. So Tranquility was set up previously as the holdco. That's the main development arm in Bali. One of the subsidiaries is then Own Partners, which is the Sanaya arm of the development, which we're going to touch on later today. Also, one of the gentlemen involved in the Sanaya development is a guy called Eric Fleury. He's been in Bali for over 20 years, delivered a number of different projects from a contract and development perspective across Bali, really delivers with superb quality and ultra high spec, which helps retain the villa value or the property value, as well as giving that capital appreciation and also the rental retention rate constantly as well. What I want to go into really now is why Bali? Why have we as a business looked at Bali? Why have we done the research to look at what's actually going on in the local market and what's driving that growth and capital values, not only from an appreciation, but also from that rental yield as well. We probably noticed it really over the last 2-3 years is that there was money moving in different directions. A lot of the money was moving to the Middle East. So the UAE, obviously, we've seen a huge increase in capital values really post-COVID since 2021. And COVID played a massive part in where money was moving to or where people were going on holiday or certainly for a long stint of time. And Bali was really the second location that we focused on, where you see a huge increase in tourism, a huge influx in new people moving there on long-term stays, getting the right visas in place, which we're going to touch on throughout this presentation and webinar. And it's identifying or getting ahead of the trend and getting ahead of the curve about how we can get investors in at the right time at the start of that journey so you get the upward trajectory and maximize the growth. Now, the fundamentals we follow as a business, regardless if it's UK, UAE, Bali, Thailand, there's 3 drivers that we always focus on. You then have spin-offs from those macroeconomic fundamentals, but really we look at corporate behaviors. So where are companies moving to? From a Bali side of it, that's looking at maybe individuals on a digital nomad visa, families that are moving there because of education, transport, regeneration, and development. For me, that's arguably the biggest one in Bali. What was Bali's historically the biggest weakness, I think now is becoming the biggest opportunity, and that's infrastructure and how they're basically changing the lay of the land and making it a lot more accessible to get from the south of the island to the north of the island. And what happens with that is the regeneration. I think what's really compelling is the bottom right-hand side of the screen, the 20-year vision that we're seeing with Bali. And over the next 4 years, so what started last year, 2025 to 2030, that's really setting the foundations and setting where the growth story of Bali is going to begin. The next 5 years after that, so 2030 to 2035, is all about diversification and wellness. And again, Sam's going to touch on being locally on the ground, what he's experienced, what he's seeing now coming up into the market, which is targeting that sort of health, wellness side of Bali. Then we move on another 5 years, 2035 to 2040. It's all about sustainability. So they're now actually building and developing a sustainable city, which is sort of northwest of the island. And then you've got 2040 and 2045, which are the last 5 years. And that's how they become a dominant country, or Indonesia's the country, but a dominant economy over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And where we foresee Indonesia going is a top 2 or top 3 economy over that time period, purely from the wealth that you have, the local affluency, but also the foreign tourists and long-term stays that are now moving there for all the right reasons. As we mentioned before about the digital nomads, it's now becoming more popular from a digital nomad perspective, with the taxes that you can benefit from, the accessibility you have to move there. But again, if I focus on the infrastructure side of it, really what's driving that growth, or where we're seeing the huge demand coming in, and really that supply can't keep up, is the infrastructure-led regeneration. And I think that's arguably the biggest core of Bali's growth. So just to name a few, you've got major road network upgrades, which is going to link the north to the south eventually, and east to west. You've got new toll roads. You've got £95 million infrastructure investment, which is going to focus on mobility upgrades. So that's all about the transport regeneration and development. Now, the major transport regeneration and development is a $20 billion master plan, which we're going to go into on the next slide. One of the other regeneration sides of Bali where we're seeing is sort of the sustainable and cultural regeneration. And that's focused on the tourism side. And the way Bali have sort of reacted to tourism is really clever, because in COVID, where tourism was their main driver, or still is their main driver, they knew they couldn't rely on just people coming to the island, whether that be on holiday or for the long term. They had to do something to make it more sustainable. So now it's not about getting as many tourists there as possible. It's not necessarily quantity, it's more so quality. So how they can attract the right people coming to the island, and Sam will vouch for this, being the local guy on the ground, and how we can make them stay for the long term, the longevity surrounding the wealth that's coming in, and the career opportunities that are going to be had. Waste management incentives, obviously it's a relatively small island, and you can almost argue it's where it's where Thailand was 15, 20 years ago. And Thailand's completely changed over that time period. And if you look at, had you have bought in Thailand way back when compared to the prices now, you'd have made a small fortune. That's exactly where we see Bali currently. And then one of the other focus areas is the preservation of the local sort of culture, and making sure that they're attracting the right sort of people that isn't going to necessarily have adverse effects on the local residents and the people that are moving there. So the shift really from mass tourism to, like I said, high quality but sustainable return on those people that are moving there. And then we look at really the fundamentals, or the macro, about why Bali and why now. Okay, as I mentioned before, COVID played a massive part in people wanting to move to Bali, or certainly going there for prolonged periods of time. It's now about how they transition from a tourism hotspot into a globally recognized lifestyle opportunity or lifestyle investment. And from the villas that we've sold and developments that we've sold in Bali over the last 12 months, that's really what most of our investors have wanted. They want something that's high yielding in a growth corridor, which they can also enjoy maybe 2-3 months of the year after they're leaving their country of residence. Now, Bali has 2025, 7 million international tourists coming in the last 12 months. But I think what really stands out for me is that the domestic tourists, so local to Bali, i.e. in Indonesia, Jakarta, you've had 10 million people. So 17 million people combined have come into Bali last year. Now, it's a fact, there's proof in the pudding, there's simply not enough properties in the market, there's not enough hotels to accommodate the amount of people and footfall coming in. So when we're identifying opportunities in the right zoning areas with the right permissions, which can accommodate this type of tourists coming in, it's where we're seeing a huge supply-demand imbalance, because it is physically impossible, especially with the new laws and legislations around where you can build. It's impossible to bring that many units or that many different properties to market. We're seeing rapid growth, as I mentioned, in the digital nomad sector, and sort of people staying there now for a prolonged period of time. And we're seeing a huge shift in the more luxury side of things. And that's what we're quite proud of, or very proud of, when we look at the Tranquility and Open Partners developments. it is the epitome of luxury living. And I'm sure you'll all agree, looking at that immediate video that we had at the start, a 3-bedroom, 3-story villa with a swimming pool, garden, private parking is something that we'd all consider sort of luxury living, okay? But then we get into what I consider the biggest infrastructure or the biggest change that Bali is going to go through, which will have the biggest knock-on effect and really the biggest attraction. If you look at to Bali, you'll know that it's a beautiful island. The food's unbelievable. The people are great, but getting from point A to point B can sometimes be a bit infuriating because it can take so long. You know, a 10-minute journey may take half an hour, may take 45 minutes, depending on the time of day or the traffic. Bali have recognised that. The government of Bali have recognised that, and they know to retain or to increase the quality footfall they're having coming through the borders, they need to do something about that, whether that be making physical roads and having a motorway, whether that be bringing into play underground train lines, the MRT, which you can see here. That's really, over the next 20 years, £20 billion being spent will completely revolutionise travel in Bali and make it more attractive and more appealing. And, you know, currently we're seeing 10% increase year on year of international tourists coming to the islands. Well, if we can make it so attractive and appealing, or the Balinese government can make it so attractive and appealing that people don't have to worry about the commute, that footfall of tourists, I personally believe, will see a huge increase in that, and naturally with that, a greater demand coming to that local economy. What I want to do now is just hand over to Sam. As I mentioned, Sam's our head of Bali investments based on the ground locally, who's going to run through a few different scenarios from what he's experienced, but also what's actually happening on the ground.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to meet you all. Thanks for jumping on. Like Lewis said, I'm Sam, based out in Bali for API. Moved out here about 2 years ago with my family. Honestly, I haven't looked back. We haven't looked back. A lot of people ask, have you gone home? And the answer is we are home. This is the place we want to be, and we're going to stay. Started off as a bit of a lifestyle move, really. Turned into something fairly big. Living out here day to day, you really see what's happening on the ground. Big part of Bali that people don't always talk about, I know Lewis just touched on it then, is the culture and the local people. The locals can't do enough for the foreigners. It's beautiful to see. And once you're here and you realise it's not just about the beaches and the villas, it's the energy and the way of life, you know, and how welcoming the locals are. It's truly priceless. That's what really makes you stay, you know. And the weather, obviously. I've not worn a jacket in about 2 years. And the biggest thing is Bali's changed even since I came here 2 years ago. It doesn't feel like a holiday destination anymore. People are actually living here.
Oh, I think we've had a connection problem.
Yeah.
You don't get that in Dubai. So, listen, the type of tenants you'll see in Bali, as Sam was about to go into, it's not just a holiday destination anymore. We're seeing high-level executives moving there regularly. Obviously, you've got the digital nomad visa, which has tax benefits, which allows you to move there with a certain level of income. And that's really following the same structure as the corporate behavior model, or sort of that macroeconomic fundamental that we would look at, in that if you've got individuals or high-level execs that move into a certain location, whether they're bringing their team or not, whether they're bringing their business, or whether they're purely bringing themselves and their family, you've got a greater footfall moving in. You back with us, Sam?
Well, I think he's dropped off again. But yeah, even from I'm based in Singapore, but and work with lots of clients across the region. People are moving out from Singapore and Hong Kong and places like this, where lifestyle is so much more expensive, first of all, but not as good, essentially. And particularly when they've got regional roles, being able to dial in and work in this type of environment, I think it's incredibly compelling for a lot of people. So what we're seeing is just growth in terms of all kinds of, not just tourism, which is obviously, as Lewis just showed, 10% growth every single year, which is mind blowing. Also from a tenancy profile of people living there, as a long term, like Sam was alluding to.
I think I don't know if everyone can read the stat on the screen on the right hand side, but taking away families moving there, taking away entrepreneurs moving there or businesses opening there. The digital nomad scheme alone, because of the benefits it has, the climate that Bali offers all year round, makes it an attractive location. We're seeing over 3,000 individuals move there on a yearly basis. Now, even if you don't take into account other regeneration projects, even if you don't take into account infrastructure changes that's going on where new jobs are being created, you physically cannot build 3,000 new properties on a yearly basis to accommodate just the new people moving there from a digital nomad perspective. When you then couple that with all the other regeneration stories and the jobs that are being created and the sort of vision over the next 20 years that the government has, there's a clear and very compelling story that there is a huge supply-demand imbalance, and that's only going to continue. Sam, I think it would be really good for you if you could explain to us sort of the misconception of, I'm a foreigner, I don't live in Bali or Indonesia, I can't buy property there. Obviously, you're on the ground, you've experienced it firsthand. Could you just go into a bit more depth about the different ownership structures that an investor can have?
Yeah, sorry, apologies. I think I dropped out there. Apologies. Yeah, that's a massive question. That's a huge question. Can foreigners actually buy property in Bali? I guess that's why we're on the call. And the short answer is yes, of course you can. I mean, it's structured a little bit differently to what most people are used to. But certainly the most common one is leasehold, nice and simple. You secure the property for a set period, 25 to 30 years, usually with the option to extend. Secondly, you've got a PTPMA route, which is setting up a company out here that allows you to hold property under the right to build title. That's more for bigger or longer term plays. Main thing to understand is it's not complicated. It just needs to be done properly. And that's exactly, why we're here. Touching on that as well, our in-house local management company has also required KBLI codes, which is new regulations regarding short-term stay and long-term stay rentals, which is a bit of a shift in the government at the moment, because for all those people who have held villas for, say, the past 10 years that have not operated with these new KBLI codes, those villas are slowly going to be taken off the market. So where we're now positioning ourselves on the market, we're gonna hold all the correct codes. We're going to be fully regulated, and that's where we will shine as a business.
I think that's really important, Sam, because what you'll essentially see is, whilst there's new properties being built, you'll actually see properties or owners potentially leaving the market because they haven't complied previously, which then makes it difficult for them to get the required codes in place. So again, it just adds to that supply-demand imbalance that we always focus on, where you're going to see the upward growth from a capital stack value and from a yield play as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, it's not something that you need to figure out yourself. It's already structured correctly with us guys. So, it's not something you need to worry about.
And then can you just give a bit of an insight, Sam, about the different visa types that are applicable? Because not necessarily the visas for the investors, but the type of people that are moving to Bali and the reasons why they're moving there, because they've got so many accessible visa types.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the visas is a big part of why people are staying longer, ultimately. Indonesia has made it a lot easier for foreigners to live here, certainly families like myself. You've got digital nomad style setups where people need to show a solid income. So naturally, you're attracting higher earners. Work permits for professionals, retirement visas, and then the second home visa, which allows people to stay 5 to 10 years. So overall, it's pretty clear what's happening. It's becoming easier for the right people to stay here long term. And that's what drives a strong market.
And then just on the local area, Sam, obviously you're based in around Uluwatu. And even from when we started having initial conversations about you coming on board, there's so much happening on a daily basis and so many new things coming up and new ideas and new sort of plan and permits coming in play where new things are being built. Do you just want to give a bit of an on-the-ground I suppose, insight to in Uluwatu itself, which we can see on the screen here. What's actually going on? Because historically, Uluwatu is a bit further out of the way from your Seminyaks and your Changus, which, if I go back 10 years, that's where I'd go on holiday. I'm a bit sort of older now and probably stay away from there. Dan, you probably still go back at some point. But Uluwatu is now sort of the what I consider the place to be, the place to go. Certainly when you go Bali, there and more sort of central towards Ubud ways if you want more of a relaxing break. But what's going on in Uluwatu? What's sort of changing over the last couple of years, and what are the plans now moving forward?
Yeah, good question. When we actually first came to Bali, we came on a holiday for a month. So we travelled around the likes of Seminyak, Ubud, beautiful place, Kuta, Canggu, Uluwatu, and we actually ended up staying in Uluwatu for a further 2 weeks after. Uluwatu is just a very, very, very special place. I mean, Uluwatu is Land's End, means Land's End. As you can see, from 1 to 12, you've got some of the most iconic beaches in Bali, all white sands, beautiful coastline. The view from Sanaya actually overlooks number 9, which is Niang Niang Beach, which is a very, very famous surf spot. In and around, there you go. You've got Six Senses. Six Senses is a I'd say a 7-star resort. Also next door to the Six Senses, you've got Bulgari Hotel. I think these are within 2 minutes, 1 minute even, the Six Senses. Six Senses has got a fantastic spa. Luke, can you just go back to the okay. Uluwatu Temple is a very, very famous temple. I'd say about 10 minutes away. Any of you that are into paddle, there's been open on the Bucket, which is the lower half of the island. I think there's 22 paddle clubs now in the area. In Uluwatu alone, I think within a 2-mile radius, we've got about 9 with free to come within there's one 500 meters away. Bamboo Fitness, for those of you who know, Bamboo Fitness got voted one of the top 5 gyms in the world. Famous, super famous gym, attracting a lot of tourists. New Cutter Golf Course is a world famous golf course within 20 minutes drive. And then you've got the schools, Lewis. You've not mentioned the schools on the slide there, but within 5 minutes you can get to Uluwatu Surf School, which is a school which is linked to Uluwatu Surf Villas, which is based around the ocean, which is from ages 6+, but that looks absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for my daughter to go there. And then again, you've got beaches within 10-15 minutes. You've got Melasti Beach. You've got Padang Beach, which the movie Eat, Pray, Loved was filmed there. So just in and around Sanaya Residences, you've got everything on your doorstep. There's a brand new co-working space just open called B-Work, which is about a mile down the road, state-of-the-art yoga studio inside, rock climbing facilities. I mean, you've just got everything in Uluwatu. It's truly amazing place.
You've got world-class F&B as well, right? So you've got like El Cabron, you've got Michelin-star restaurants, like all 10 minutes away max, and you've got hundreds of them, right?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on F&B. You've also got Savaya. You've also got Savaya nightclub, which was voted, I think, one of the top nightclubs in the world.
It's the top number 1 in the whole of Asia Pacific.
Yeah. Then you've got GWK, which is a big statue, which is roughly 20 minutes away. We've just hosted a huge music festival, Day One. I wasn't lucky enough to go, but it was called Day One. It looked unbelievable. And then the cuisine, you've got every style of cuisine on your doorstep. And yeah, again, it's just an amazing place.
So I think what's very apparent for everything you've just said, but both Dan and Sam, is that they're trying to accommodate not just for the local market, not just for the local nationals, but for the international presence that's now moving to the island, right? There's probably not many paddle players that have come from Indonesia. There's probably not many pro golfers that have come from Indonesia. So the fact that now building these quality golf courses, the fact that they're building so many different paddle court, which is the fastest growing sport in the world, they are trying to accommodate for more and more people moving there from who aren't domestic, right, from an international basis. So it's great to see, and that's only adding to the overall economy and sort of where the market's going to continue to grow. And ultimately, if you've got more people moving there, more people spending in the local currency, more people spending, can only grow that local economy. And with that, we're able to drive higher nightly rates because you've got more demand coming in. As we just touched on, there is simply not enough supply coming to market, or simply not enough quality supply coming to market, which I think is the real crucial bit here. So we've been through this. And then, Dan, do you want to touch on, I suppose, the development itself? Because you've personally put your money where your mouth is. You've actually purchased in here yourself. If you want to give everyone a bit of an overview.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, look, obviously working at API, I'm constantly keeping my eyes and ears into the ground in terms of what I believe is the best investment grade product in the world, right? And different markets offer different things. And, you know, Bali is the best yield market in the world, right? When you're talking about 15% net yields, particularly when we're looking at retirement planning and things like that, I think it's a super, super interesting market. Now, you know, just with this whole market, I've been looking in this for a number of years now to trying to get entry into it, but finding the right solution. And this is why I think API, Mike and Matt have sort of moved into the market, because there's a huge opportunity there to get investment grade product there, right? And structure it in the right way with the right build quality and the right management. There are inherent risks around markets like this, and what we do at API as a business generally, but is sort of offset risk and find the best investment grade structures for individuals to invest in. You know, just when we talk about things like the build quality and who we're bringing in to be building these things. I mean, Eric, who actually didn't send his picture in early enough to have his picture on there, but he's got 20 plus years of experience in there. And when you walk around, and which I've done, and seen the build quality in comparison to the rest of the market, I mean, a lot of the sites that I see in Bali, you can lean on the walls and you'll go through. Right. And you're going to be, you know, when you look at the management companies, they're charging huge fees and not offering a huge amount. You know, what we're bringing into this and from a build quality perspective is world class. But equally from a management, you know, you've got international grade standards with local structure. So it's been done in exactly the right way to legally comply to everything. To obviously maximize ROI for investors, but equally hedge risk. So in my opinion, this is the best investment grade product for the whole of Bali, the whole of Indonesia, in terms of if you're looking to invest in this market, the reasons why you do it, for all of the reasons that I've just given you, let alone all the lifestyle benefits of it. You know, if you just look at what we just talked about, the location side of things, but, you know, having things like the world's best beach club in Surveyor, like pretty much walking distance from you. Do you know how many people go there just on a weekly basis that will be renting these places out? It's phenomenal. And, you know, Six Senses, I think they're charging nearly $1,000 a night to stay there for a 1-bed. These are 3-bed suite villas where I think on our cash flow, which I'll go into in a minute, we're talking about $360. I as someone who frequently goes there from Singapore, and I can see the value clearly. And obviously working in the market, there are a few key things that you have to tick off from a due diligence perspective. So yeah, ownership structure, build quality, management are all the things that you get with this, and doing it in the correct way. We're offsetting the risk. And what we've picked from you know, we've really looked at the macro growth of this whole region and gone micro into the exact areas where you should be investing. Actually, where this site is as well, you're right on the top of the hill in an unbelievable position where, you know, we'll look at some of the views in a minute, but you've got 270-degree views from the roofs. It's going to be phenomenal.
You can see that in the picture on the top right. The view you've got, as Sam mentioned, looking down onto the beach, sort of unparalleled and unrivaled when it comes to other locations. Yeah,
exactly, and that's from every single villa here. Yeah, look, this is the site plan. I bought Villa 1 in there, but there isn't a bad one in here, guys. You know, I think I just took number 1 just because it's the first one on the list. I've walked this site. It is phenomenal where it is from a location perspective, and all the villas are built in the same specs. And really, intelligently put together, right? So when we're talking about the really open plan living coming in, and you'll notice that in every single room, it's built as a suite, right? So you've got en suites in each room, right? These are going to be perfect. No one's going to be annoyed if you're going on holiday. You know, when people rush in and, oh, I've got this room. There's none of that here, right? It's a 3-bed true suite villa, which is built, you know, incredibly well from the architects in how they're actually using the space. Obviously, we've got the ground floor straight through on there, where you'll have open plan living going out into the pool areas and the garden. So you'll have probably what you'd call the master bedroom down there, but as I said before, it's hard to say that. And going up into the second floor, there's going to be a really nice, there's a better view of this that we'll show you later, but yeah, that whole terrace area, which you could potentially have a barbecue pit and so on and so forth, and then the other 2 rooms with the en-suites. And then from a top floor perspective, this roof is going to be absolutely incredible in terms of the views and the lifestyle side of things.
What I just want to do, and just before you go into any more, I just want to show live footage. Well, I say live footage. This is of 10 days ago of where we're up to with construction, so you can get a feel of the foundations are in, the views that you're going to really get a walk of the site.
To Sanaya Residences, the Chateau Uluwatu. I'm here in Bali on a fantastically sunny day, just checking the update as to where we are in construction with our fantastic flagship development, Sanaya Residences. We're building 10 3-bedroom detached villas on this hilltop site looking over with a 270-degree view of the coastline. You can see here the work started on the villas, so follow me and we'll show you the site. So directly behind me, you can see one of the villas. As you can see, hugely spacious, beautiful stonework, and all of the footings and foundations are in now. 3-bed detached villas for only $399,000 US. We're looking at targeting a 15% net yield. So a really, really interesting opportunity for a very low entry level.
Right, Dan, can you just give everyone a bit of a run through actually about the development now? So sort of statistics, when it's due to complete, service charge yield, so on and so forth.
Yeah, 100%. I think the first thing to say though, just quickly on that is where you're looking at those views and things, Mike was about probably 2 meters off the ground at his highest point on that, right? These are going to be, you've got 3 full stories of height, which is going on there, and half the actual trees weren't even cut around that, you know. So when you're sat, you know, sort of 25, 30 meters up in the sky from there, you will have unobstructed views 360. Even that villa that you saw on the sort of right hand, just inside on the other plot there, those units will be well above that from a roof perspective. So you know, I can't express how good the views will be from the top of that. Yeah. Okay. So look, from this perspective, this is also something that people need to get their head around, right? I mean, like, you know, the starting price points are just under, you know, £300,000. You know, we obviously as a business do a lot in the north of England in terms of places, great investment, great areas like Manchester and Birmingham. You're talking about, you know, the same price point that you'd be looking at in these markets with a 15% sort of net yield. So 399,000 USD or 294 thousand pounds.
I think
Obviously,
sorry, Dan, the big one on that. Obviously, I live in Dubai, right, and I've been here 13 years. You'd struggle to find even a one-bedroom apartment in a good area for under 1.5 million dirhams. The fact that you've got 3-bed, 3-story, private pool, private parking, for me, that solidifies the investment case right there and the capital growth and potential that you're going to see, because a like-for-like comparable, yes, Bali isn't Dubai, but it's certainly making changes locally to attract more people and put governmental changes in place to make it arguably one of the hottest hotspots in the world moving forward.
Yeah, correct. I mean, like, I think it's one, it's been in the top sort of 3 or 4 most visited place or best places to go on holiday in the world for the last like 10 years. And like when you're talking about there, you've got a population of around 4 million and 17 million going there each year. So if you're going to rent out your place on day rates like a hotel, it doesn't get better. If people go in and chat GPT this, write in what's the best yield market in the world, it'll come out with Bali. And that's why it's so good for me. I've obviously invested in this, and it's a lifestyle play as well as investment, but it's investment first. This is going to make money, and the price point, build quality, and everything that you're getting for that price point, I think, it's going to look incredibly cheap in a few years. Yeah, look, these are just some of the visuals of different layers within it. I think the bottom left one is a great one just to get you, when Mike was showing you that video and walking around the site, you got to think you're going to be 3 floors up and up in that area there. The views are going to be, that's honestly for me as an investor, that's going to be, I'm going to spend some really good time out there. It's really great chill out area watching sunsets. Yeah, go to the next one, Lou. Yeah, all of the inside, there's going to be different furniture pack options with regards to this, but it's going to be really in keeping with a really, really cool vibe, right? Utamo, the management company, there's going to be different options with that, but these guys are going to have absolutely no problem renting these places out. They're going to look fantastic, and the actual quality, I've selected to choose the furniture pack in this. This is bespoke furniture, which is going to look absolutely phenomenal.
I think furniture aside, Dan, if you look at the finish and the specification of the kitchen, the bathroom, the living room, it's somewhere where people will want to stay. I'm sure a lot of people on the webinar today will have turned up to somewhere which looks great in pictures, and you go, I've been sold a bit here. It's not what I expected. The finishing will be absolutely superb, as you can see from the pictures. And I think what's really important is that the next development that we're going to show you, which is the Sanctuary in Ubud, which completes this quarter, the finishing is next level. It's second to none. So that shows you the type of quality that as a developer, both Tranquility and Own Partners are delivering.
Yeah, exactly right. And I'd advise anyone who is looking to invest in this, go and see that. We'll go into the Ubud site, which is going live this year, but phenomenal. So project timeline, started construction recently, as you can see from Mike's video earlier, and then it will be completing in Q2 2027. 3-bed units, 399 year, 399 USD. Payment plan. This is the payment plan that we standard one that we use across this area. 10K, which is the most important thing to secure the unit and take this off the market. 10% is to exchange now to the notary in an escrow account and signature of your MOU agreement. Then 40% on completion of due diligence, and then, as you can see, different bits of incremental as different phases of the construction happen. If people do need slightly, if we do need to look at different payment plans for you during this build process, that's something that I'm sure the developers would be happy to look at, helping people with cash flow. I know that I'm talking to one of my clients, and for their big bonus next year, we're going to have to implement that during this. So we're here to work with you on that as well.
Yeah, I think the most important part is point 2, the completion of the due diligence. That's where an external notary, which isn't tied into us as a business API, isn't tied into you as a client, as an investor, isn't tied into Tranquility or Own. They are fully independent. They then conduct their own research, and once they are happy, their own due diligence, once they are happy on everything from a legality perspective, from a contract perspective, from the build, they will then sign off on it, and that's when that 40% is due. Typically, that takes a 2 to 3 week period, so it's basically within the first month from paying your reservation fee, paying your exchange deposit, and then paying the 40% minus the reservation fee. You're looking at a 50% payment, typically within 28 days. And as Dan mentioned, that next 50%, whilst it's milestone driven, where needs be, there can be an element of flexibility. And then Dan, do you just want to give everyone a breakdown of the numbers? Yeah. Fundamentally, we look at ROI, return on investment, and as we mentioned, Bali is arguably one of the highest yielding locations globally, and I think these figures really solidify that.
Yeah, 100%. And look, this is really what strikes you. You know, paying $400 US to get, you know, by the end of this, you know, a 15% net yield. You know, when we're talking about an average price per night of 360 USD, I think that for what is in the area and the level of product that this will come into the market at, is cheap. I think that we, you know, certainly at different times in the year, you'll be able to achieve far higher than that. Occupancy rate of around 75%. But the average is actually higher than that. I think that's very low again in terms of what will actually be achieved, particularly with the management company that we're going to be working with. And you know, rental portal fee, that's usually an Airbnb side of things. Your management fee of around 20%. So you know, putting in you know, 400,000 and then coming out with around 65,000 a year rolling. You know, this pays for itself every sort of 5 or 6 years at this level. And this is what we're walking into day one, guys, remember, right? So when we actually look at the growth and the trajectory that we're taking with this, you know, there's no reason for that number to go up quite significantly, even over a 3 to 5 year period, let alone the capital appreciation. And there's a couple of different strategies that you should be talking to your API consultant about here. Right, and what you're doing from this investment, you know, if it's not just a straight lifestyle one, if we're running this as a business, which I'll be doing, there's a couple of different strategies, right? We can look at just rolling this out and using this as yield, right, and holding, and then extending the lease. You know, it'll pay for itself. God knows how many times by the end of this tenure. I mean, roll on 10 years. God knows what the you know, annual yield will be. It'll be a lot higher than the 15%. Or what you're doing is we could hold this, roll it out, take that 15% net yield for a number of years, and then look to sell at a possible uplift. You know, say we saved that for, I don't know, a 5 year period or an 8 year period, right? And then we sold at, say, 600K, right? Where, you know, the speed that the market is growing at, that's very, very realistic, and we'd probably be ending at a 20% plus net yield. You know, you're talking 300-400% return on capital invested when you depending on how you structure this investment. So yeah, I'd argue that, you know, if people are interested in this as interested in a straight yield play for cash flow, this should be part of portfolios, and you know, that's why I've sort of put my money where my mouth is and really believe in this personally.
And I think it's really important that one of the steps, or the final step that I spoke about very quickly in that end-to-end solution that we do, is portfolio optimization. So advising you what the next best play is. Well, $64,000 or just shy of $65,000 on a yearly basis, call that £50,000, let's say, is essentially a deposit on another property elsewhere to allow you to then leverage up and increase your asset net worth and grow your portfolio that way. And I know the investors that we've spoke to, or the ones that have bought from me in plot 6 and plot 10, that's exactly what our plan is. The plan is to build up capital to then reinvest that elsewhere, and then you've got a pure diversification play. So after 2 years, you could have had 2 other properties as well as this. You'll then get an income on the 2 other properties as well as 64.5 or potentially $70,000 once that's going to year 3 every year. And that's really how we're building generational wealth and helping people really retire earlier than what they need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say exactly. And I'm looking at it as school fees. Pays for both of my kids' school fees each year, so I don't have to think about it. But this is what I'm saying: wherever you are on your investment journey, and you know, there's definitely a place for this, which is why I'm so excited about it. Sorry, Lou.
It's okay. I'm conscious that we've only got 8 minutes left, guys, so we are going to run through. So this is in Ubud, the sanctuary, and I think this shows the absolute quality and spec of from what CGI to real life looks like. Obviously on the screen now you can see CGI. What I'm going to do is show you a video of Mike again walking through the sanctuary video. This sanctuary site, sorry, this over later this quarter, and for me, I've been absolutely blown away by the quality of development.
Right, we're here at the Sanctuary Ubud, which is our flagship project. Behind me, you can see the site. We're well on the way to completion. I think we're expecting to complete around May, June this year, which is very, very exciting. Let me take you inside. It's literally a villa development of 8 villas, 6 of which are already sold, 2 remaining. We've got a 3-bed at $585,000 fully furnished, and we have a 4-bed at $770,000 fully furnished. These villas are top luxury. Come and have a look. So here you can see in front of us, we've got the concierge area and with a function room above. So it's going to be run as a resort style. Okay, we've got security going in here and concierge, and then we've got the reception area, the lobby. Right, so what we've got here is a close to completed 3-bed, one of our 3-bed units. Let's go in and have a look. You can see the first thing that I see here is just the attention to detail and the quality of the materials we're using here. This is Ubud Blackstone, unbelievable, exactly the same as GDAS. You can see here, all villas come with a swimming pool, absolutely beautiful feature, and we've got the windows in here. Let's go and have a look inside. We've got 1 bedroom downstairs here, and then we come into the living area. We look at the double height ceilings. It's a beautiful, beautiful room. Great space. We're using Javanese teak as well as the Blackstone, so top quality. And you see the marble finish in the fully fitted kitchen here. So top, again, really good quality. And then the floating stair design, which is beautiful. And if you follow me upstairs, I'll show you, we've got the internal garden area here, which is lovely. We bring as much greenery into the project as we can. And then if you look here, we've got another bedroom, which is the master suite here, overlooking the swimming pool, with obviously very, very spacious. And then we've got a fantastic bathroom here, master bathroom, with all of the lighting, and what you don't see at the moment is the planting, but that's going to be amazing when that's done. And then we've got an area here, mezzanine area, which is nice for a seating area or maybe an office, and then we've got a 3rd bedroom at the end there. I think one of the things that I absolutely love about the design is how we're using natural light. We're using as much planting as we can, as you can see outside behind the swimming pool, but also light bins, light boxes, and bringing natural light into the actual villa itself.
So I'm sure everyone will agree it looks absolutely superb, and that actually, like I mentioned, phase 1 completes Q2 this year. So if you are someone that's looking for them sooner rather than later, you want to get that capital working for you, then entry in Ubud it is absolutely the right investment. As you can see here, the master plan. So we've got phase 1, which is everything on the left-hand side here. We've actually got 2 units remaining, Villa 4, which is a 3-bedroom unit, and Villa 9, which is a 4-bedroom unit. The example that Mike's just gone through there is a 3-bedroom unit. And then we've got phase 2, which are 3 other villas, which are about 15 months away from completion from now. Just to give a breakdown of the floor plans in case the video wasn't clear enough. This is a 4-bedroom master plan. So this is for Villa 9, slightly larger outside than you can see in the 3-bed. You've got the sunken fire pit area sort of here, and then you go inside. Similar layout to the 3-bedroom. But for me, what really does it for me, what's really going to get that tenant profile sort of gravitating towards, particularly the sanctuary, is the quality of the finishing inside. You maybe not be able to tell from the video, but the quality of the stone that Mike mentioned and sort of the marble that's being used is super high grade in quality. And again, Sam, you'll know this from first-hand experience. When villas are subject to heavy rainfall or different climate changes, it can have a huge impact on the quality of the build or the longevity of the build. When we're using materials like this, you've just got sort of the longevity set in place, which obviously from an investment perspective is everything that you need, right?
Absolutely.
Again, see here, interiors. What I really love personally about this is the spiral staircase. Adds that touch of class to it, which you may not see in other style developments or villa opportunities, not just in Bali, but ultimately globally as well. And again, here's just a layout of phase 2, slightly different layout with the garden. But like I said, this one completes in about 15 months' time. There you've got the 3-bed layout as well, okay? And payment schedule, obviously for phase 1, which is completing this quarter, obviously it's basically the full amount up front by the final completion payments. Obviously for the phase 2 one, where you've got 15-month build, obviously that will then be staggered to 50% within the first 28 days and the remaining balance over that 15-month period. And Dan, do you want to run through the ROI again and how that looks on the sanctuary? So what we've done here is based on the 4-bed villa, which is Villa 9 in phase 1, and how that really differs from Sanaya and the Uluwatu scheme.
Yeah, look, this is obviously there's a 3-bed version of this as well. If for slightly cheaper for this actual villa, guys, this is my favorite villa in the whole thing. It's absolutely unbelievable. Obviously today's about highlighting the different sort of highlights on all of this, but do reach out if you want individual consultations where we can go into a lot more detail on each of these things. But yeah, so 699,000 USD, which once again, this is Balinese teak. This is, using all of the highest quality. This is going to be super premium in this market, where once again, I think, price point is going to go up aggressively over the next few years. 70% occupancy, only £700 a night, where, there's actually some great comparables, which we can give you for, what would be considered the super luxury sector around this area, which this, in my opinion, beats by a mile. So very, very, I think that can go up to 1,000 in core areas. And
$700, well, not £700. Right?
Sorry,
so,
dollars. Yeah, everything's in dollars.
Is about what, £550 a night. I mean, Dan, you and I have just come back from Thailand in March when we were looking at our developments there. I think I was paying £600 a night for Thailand, and the properties that we were staying in were nowhere near to the finish that the sanctuary is going to offer. Yeah,
exactly. And look, there's a real spread in the market, right? You can stay in these places which, like I said before, which you can fall through the walls in, and they're not being let out properly. And effectively, what we believe is going to happen into the market is, if you're not structuring it correctly with this type of management structure and ownership structure, they're going to be not being able to even rent these out from an Airbnb perspective. So we'd imagine the price point will go up on these, because it will only be the ones which are structured correctly that are even legally allowed to be let, which of course is part of the massive unique selling point that we have as a business, because everything will be done correctly. But yeah, these numbers are only going one way, and that's upwards. And look, similar rental portal fee and management fee. and this is world-class management as well. So the part of the management on this is going to be run as an actual resort. Some of the head guys, I think it was from Marriott, I'm not sure but it's a 5-star resort quality management that are going into this. And yearly ROIs, once again, for where can you get these type of yields where you're going to get capital appreciation as well? And a lot of people don't need to understand that real estate, particularly when we're looking at retirement planning in particular, or if you are in a situation where you want to step back a little bit, your capital appreciation and yields, right? And your yields is an inflation-proof business that just kicks out money for you, right? And this is obviously one of the best yield products in the market by an absolute mile. So yeah, you're walking away with around 125,000 USD net income on a 70% occupancy, where the average for the market is 80 plus, and a 15.74% net yield. So yeah, as an investment product, tick.
When we're talking about net, that is net. There's no other deductibles. Tax is collected as part of the management fee. So the amount that you're seeing there, net into the bank account, that you will actually see. And we've got an incentive. So for anyone that's joined the webinar today, and you like the look of what we've been through, whether that be Sanaya or whether that be the Sanctuary in Ubud, if you decide to go ahead, reserve a unit, we will actually fly you out, you and your partner, to Bali, 2-night stay, fully sort of VIP hosted, and you can actually get a private tour of the unit that you are going to buy. So that is an incentive for anyone that is on the webinar today. Okay, and that concludes it. Slightly over the time that I wanted, 3 minutes past 2 my side. I appreciate it's different time zones globally, but thank you for everyone who's joined. Hopefully you found it extremely beneficial. There's a lot of great questions coming through. A lot of them have been answered directly with regards to service charge, management company, plot size, and so forth. If you do have any further questions, please do reach out to your API representative, whoever's invited you, and we're more than happy to run through, actually financials based on the type you're looking for. So yeah, again, thanks from me, thanks from Dan, and thanks from Sam.